man. Oh man.
Jeez, dude.
Oh man.
It's been a rough few days being a Bears fan.
Yeah, let's just say tears were shed.
Tears were definitely shed
Tears were
over
shed.
the last
Things were
few days.
broken.
But it's just it was a rough one.
Yeah.
Let's just say that the Bears, especially on Sunday, did not deserve to win that game, just the way they performed. But it just sucks that, we'll get into it, but it just sucks that we got our hopes up, hopes and dreams up. Bears potentially taking that win against the Commanders and came out on the last play, man. And we'll dive into it a little bit. But how's your day been today, man?
Day's been good. It's a little bit warmer in Chicago again for a fall October 30th day. It's a little bit warmer, but I'm doing good. I think today was fantasy football waiver day, so there's other things to focus on. There's other parts of football, right? There's more than one team that I'm rooting for this season. So otherwise, I've been good. I'm day by day taking it a little bit slowly, trying to stay off social media is kind of the big thing, especially being a Bears fan. But one thing I'll say is that there's been a lot of bad quotes and there's been a lot of good quotes coming out of Hallis Hall these last 2 days. And so I'll focus on the good quotes, focusing on the movement and the progression. So let's just take it day by day. And then next week is this week's a new game. So more things to focus on to come. So
it's a beautiful day in the city of Chicago today. It was like 80 degrees or something like that. I got to, go outside and enjoy the weather a little bit. But other than that, it's just, it's just kind of going into what we were talking about before, just trying to last few days settle in what happened on Sunday, kind of grieve a little bit. But it's just another Bears game, man. It's just another game. We still have a positive record though, right?
Exactly. Still a plus record.
Still a positive record being a Bears fan, which is awesome. But yeah, Dan, let's just dive right into it. Talking about, what kind of happened first with the, the Bears game and stuff like that. So week 8 recap. Dan, you want to start us off, man?
Yes, I will start us off. Obviously, if you're watching this, you're a Bears fan. We don't have to argue who's bigger, Bears fan or not. We all watch the same game. We all kind of feel the same way. If you watch that game, it means that you felt the same heartbreak as us. I mean, unless you're a Commanders fan, I don't know how you're feeling, but you felt the same heartbreak as us, and that was a tough game to watch. There wasn't a lot of pluses, unless it was the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. But even then, it ended on probably one of the biggest. Just one of the worst plays I've ever had to watch live in front of other Bears fans. So that was definitely tough. But let's just focus on the positives. Again, not many positives, but obviously Daniels outplayed Caleb a little bit, not by skill. I'm not going to say that he outplayed him by skill this game, but he definitely outplayed him by coaching. I think that we definitely got outcoached this game. If you've been on social media this week, you've understood that people are throwing everything under the bus. That is not including the players. I think players played really, really freaking well this game. Just didn't get any positive yardage, scoring, or anything like that. But I think the defense played well and the offense tried as they could. But obviously, I mean, Bears were held to 0 points until really late into the third quarter.
Yeah.
You don't want to see that. That's something that doesn't happen that often, especially with an updated offense like we have now. We shouldn't be playing that poorly, right? Especially against a team like the Commanders that is middle of the pack. This isn't even the best defense that we faced this season. So that definitely sucked. But it's, one positive I'll say that throughout the game, the Bears defense did hold Washington to only field goals.
Another week, man. This Bears defense is just, stellar as always. This Bears defense is just, eating and held. Finally, Washington found a hard defense they played against and, held them to field goals the whole entire game until, obviously that last play of the game with the Bears, but it's just, like I said, man, I've never turned off my TV so fast in my life. I saw that happen. I didn't even see any of the reactions. I had the remote right next to me. Media power off of the TV. It was I
saw the play. Yeah. Sorry.
I sat in darkness for 30, 45 minutes. Didn't even want to open up Twitter. Yeah. I felt the buzzes on my phone, with all the different notifications going on. It's just it was a rough one, man. But it's a learning curve for the Bears. It definitely is for the coaching. Players especially, we'll talk about which players it's a learning curve for in a little bit. But it's great that it's a great thing that we didn't get blown out this game, but also is a good thing that the Bears kept it a close game with these Washington Commanders, which is one of the best teams of the year. I just looked at the power rankings. They're ranked number 5 or 6 right now out of 32 teams in the NFL. So
no, I remember I was at Twin Peaks Bar and Grill in Oak Brook. Saw the last play happen, didn't even watch it. I watched it bounce, and I watched an open receiver. I put my head in my arms, avoided the TV the rest of the night. Literally, I'm talking a minute. Went to go pay my tab. Asked my girlfriend and her brother to follow me to the car, and it was a very silent 50-minute drive home. No music, nothing, just thinking, just thoughts. Very upset, obviously. So, I think that's the only reason I was upset. It was a tough loss, but it was a tough game. It was a game that we didn't see much progression through the players that we wanted to. Defensively, they played great, but no takeaways. Only 2 sacks. Like, there wasn't any major plays that made me feel like Daniels, got hit, got what he deserved. No, he stayed up, and I think that hurt the most too, is that he was playing injured, and he still played really well against this defense.
Exactly.
If they didn't score field goals, they were scoring touchdowns. So that's still a good thing, but I'd still rather them score nothing, right? That's kind of the way I was looking at it. But Bears defense played really well until the very last play. As you can tell, Noah Brown caught like a 55-yard touchdown with zeros on the clock. Jane Daniels had the ball for about 12.5 seconds at the 50-yard line. No one really rushing him. Not a lot of the secondary, aiming for the ball, just kind of going for the bat. But this game was pretty darn ugly, as well as for that last play. Again, red zone fumbles. I'm sure you've watched that Doug Kramer red zone fumble in the fourth quarter.
It was a bad play, man. That was a play that should never.
And that's something that he scored before, right? He's scored that, and I understand, but I think Roschon Johnson is the only player in the NFL right now that's had a 100% success rate when he gets the ball in the red zone, like at the 5-yard line and under.
That's crazy,
100%. Man, He's the only player in the league right now. So you got to give him the ball, and he scored it on the drive after that. So again, red zone fumbles. Really bad passing game. Only about 130 yards thrown for this game. We lost a 4th and 1 once. That was a really tough one. It was a really bad drawn up play. We ended up losing like 4 yards on that. We were 2 for 12 on third downs. Let's just sit on that. 2 for 12. 2 for 12. That's like 20%. That's horrible. That's really bad,
dude. And like compared to Daniels had like 300 total yards, and like the Bears, like it took like the whole entire team in general. I think they had like 130 or something like that, 120. It's just, especially like let's go back to that Doug Kramer play real quick. Especially, let's look at other teams like potentially the Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid in that offense. That's a play they would only run if they're up by at least 2 touchdowns, right?
True.
It's a trick play,
It's for fun.
It could gamble, you could fumble the ball. Something could happen wrong where it could be an interception. It could bobble out of the offensive line's hands if it was a pass play. But this play, that should have, especially when you're down, that play should have never been called by Shane Waldron. I think he was just trying to, he was grabbing out of the bucket of fun plays that he had. And he thought, see, this is the story that I was thinking about. If he actually ran it in for a touchdown, do you think about those headlines that if Doug Kramer actually ran that in?
Offensive lineman scores touchdown,
It would have been all over. It'd been uppercase offensive lineman, big man TD and stuff like that. But instead, it was a fumble because, it was not a very, high IQ, touchdown play by Shane Waldron. He fumbled it. But like you said, man, kind of going back, it's just, it was a tough pill to swallow for the Bears that game. Just the offense didn't click in the first half. I remember I texted in the group chat and I said, "Oh yeah, I'm on my way home right now. If anyone wants the Bears game," your immediately response was like, "This might be a game you gotta skip, man."
Might not be worth it, because I went out for it, and that's what made me so upset. I usually, being a Chicago fan, I've learned to watch games by myself at my home. I don't watch them with other people usually, unless it's friends, because Debbie Downers and stuff like that gets you. I was moaning about it. I was just upset, and I remember, you texted me who wants to watch the game together, and I was like, Tyler, man, I don't know, man. This is not what we talked about, not what we were hoping for. But at the end of the day, it's part of the process of being a Bears fan. We have to watch these games and we have to study them so we can talk to you guys about them to understand it. And I was emotional. I was quite emotional after the game. But I think what helped me go through it is understanding that fourth quarter looked just a little bit different, to the point where it was easier to be a Bears fan because we understood for the future. It looks like we have someone that joined in the chat here finally.
We got Paul saying, yo.
We got Paul coming in. What up?
What's up, Paul? Thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate the.
Thanks for tuning in to one of the worst Bears games we've ever watched. So welcome on in.
And you also say he's just tuning in. Appreciate it, man. You know, if you got any questions or anything, you put in the chat. We're always willing to, comment or whatever. But like we said, dude, this was a tough pill to swallow for the Bears. What's good is that the second half did look a lot better for the Bears. I always try to look to the bright side of things, especially, with the Bears or any Chicago team or, even general in life. I always try to look at the bright side of things. And the fourth quarter looked really good for the Bears. Caleb had, a spark in him. He knew that the fourth quarter, it was only a field goal game, man. It's not like the game was 32-0 where he needed the touchdowns. It was only a field goal game for the Commanders, and all he needed was a touchdown to get back in this game. And, another field goal as well. But it was great for, Caleb Williams, finally, that's what the Bears, the franchise and the fans have been waiting for, is a quarterback to potentially take over in the fourth quarter. Is it Caleb's fault that there was a full offensive line, play at the goal line? No, it's absolutely not. That's, offensive coordinator's fault. He's just doing what the offensive coordinator tells him. But that was, we'll get into the positives at the end of, talking about this game. But I think that was just an amazing positive for Caleb Williams' improvement throughout the game. He did not look great whatsoever. The offensive line looked rusty in the first half. I know Braxton Jones went down, and then Karan had to come in, and hold up the left tackle spot for him. But he performed well after a few drives. He finally it clicked for him, and I know the announcers were like, "Dude, what is this guy doing? Like, he missed his block like 3 times." Finally, I think somebody went up to him and talked to him about it. But yeah, man, it's a game. It's a game for the Bears. Obviously, I was like, this could be a make or break game. Especially later on in the season, seeing that this could be a playoff implication game if it comes down to it. But this is a learning experience for the coaching, learning experience for players on the defense. And we have another question in the chat by Paul. This is a great question, actually. How do you think the Bears should penalize Stevenson for such a foolish move? I know Eberflus kind of talked about this, he did take accountability for basically saying, I screwed up. It's my fault. My head was not in the game. It won't let it happen again. It's hard. A lot of people say, he should be off the team. I think what I was reading with some of these reporters and stuff like that is what a fair punishment could be for, Tyreek Stevenson is let him sit maybe, one defensive drive, let him sit on the bench and watch. I don't think having him off the team is, a fair punishment. Mistakes happen, man. That's the way I look at it. Mistakes happen. He owned up to his mistake. He knows what he did wrong. Everybody on this team knows what he did wrong. And, I think, I'm not saying sit the whole entire game, pull him out the whole entire game, but maybe 1 drive or 2 drives or maybe a whole entire quarter just for him to realize, like, dude, you screwed up. What do you think, man? Do you have anything about this?
Yeah, I think it was obviously a foolish move, right? When I look at it, I think about it now, it was dumb, but I do think some of the memes were pretty funny. Yeah. Justin sat here and said, another commenter, make him a free agent.
That's what Justin says.
I'm thinking the opposite of all this. If you're sitting here and you're thinking that he isn't the one that's being the hardest on himself or his family, then I think that's incorrect. I think he is the hardest person on himself right now. And instead of playing him less, how about this? How about you play him more? You want him to really get upset? You make him tired. You put him in the game for the entire game. You see what he can do. You want him to be upset. You see his stats dip down. You see him get exhausted. I think that's what Coach Eberflus is about. I think it's kind of his mentality. If you're going to mess with us, then how about we punish you by making you play more, right? That's going to hurt the team a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, he understands the mistake that he made. That's not a mistake they're going to make again. You think the entire defense is sitting here saying, okay, I think we're going to play every single game like we're hardest. And I think Tyreek's going to come back better. I think he's going to come back better. It's a dumb move. It's a bad move. But at the end of the day, what makes you think that him even being part of the play still wouldn't make Noah Brown catch the ball, right? Like, I think it's just the way these plays go. It's the way the chances went, and that's just the way they played their cards, and we played ours. And I would have been happier if he didn't catch the ball and he was still, parading around in the stadium. But I think he's still such a stud. I think again, the secondary is depleted. Without Tyreek Stevenson, we're bad. We're pretty bad. Jalen Johnson got torched that game. We need him to play, and I think just you punish him by making him play more, I think.
And Justin did say here, he said, but he couldn't finish that game. It's true, man. It's 100% true. He didn't finish that last play on the drive. He was talking smack to the fans. You saw the Bears fans in the front row pointing at the play, being like, dude, there's a play going on. And all of a sudden it was just like, he didn't get to it. We could talk about Is it on him 100%? I don't think it's on him 100%. The Bears had 3 timeouts, man. The timeouts do not transfer to the next week. You don't get 6 timeouts next week for saving 3 of them at the last game. Eberflus should have realized this is the final play of the game. Rally our defense here. Do you know some of the key pieces that weren't in on that play? Do you know who Montez Sweat was not in on that play? Your basically your franchise paying edge rusher on the Bears was not in that play to tackle on that. But yeah, dude, I can blame Tyreek. I can blame him. You can obviously blame Tyreek. You can blame the coaching. You can blame the Bears for like not even getting like a touchdown until the last 4th quarter. There's a lot of blames, man. There is, but I do agree that like Tyreek does take a big responsibility for this, and he came out like right away telling us that he screwed up, which I appreciate that for.
Yeah,
doesn't make do for him completely bobbling that catch and like getting to the play last minute and laying Noah Brown open. No, but mistakes happen, man. A few years from now, we won't even think about that. If this happened, maybe we won't. It's not a playoff game. It's not
maybe
like
even after this week, right?
Yeah.
Maybe even after this week. That's kind of the quotes I've been hearing out of House Hall here. We have another question in the chat here.
I like this question. Franco Sliwa.
Franco Sliwa. That is bringing back crazy memories for those of you who don't know. Sliwa is my last name, and Franco indeed does not share the last name. Is the same last name as me. Pretty beautiful site here, but go ahead. I'll answer this first here. Well, I think Darnell Wright is playing very well. I think the reason why he's playing well is if you don't hear his name often. If you don't hear his name often, that means that he doesn't have a lot of blame. He's gotten penalized a lot less in the last 2 games. He had a rough first 3 games, being bottom of the barrel, especially on this team. But lately, in the last 2 weeks, he's been killer. He's been instant. He's been going up against the best edge rushers against these teams that we're playing. So I think he's doing well. I'm very proud of him. I don't think he's still anywhere near like the top 10 or 12 in the league when it comes to right tackles, but he is definitely making a name for himself, and I'm glad he's in a Bears uniform and not injured, right? So that's a big key that he's still present in team meetings.
Yeah, Danny, he's been doing a lot better the last few weeks, man. Like you said, the first few weeks he was penalized a lot, false starts. There's a few other ones like not line. That's the new rule in the NFL. Not all the players lined up on the line. They call that I think that's a false start or like a. I don't know what they call that this year. They're enforcing it a lot more. But yeah, he has improved the last few weeks. The offensive line has improved the last few weeks. The only thing that happened is that kind of in this game is that when Braxton Jones went down, that kind of was a little bit of a weak link just for Karan, our new rookie coming in, to the left tackle spot. But he did improving well. So Darnell Wright's doing good, man. He is. I got another question. Actually, what did Justin say? Justin said something. He said
they care more about the QB off over the game. I think he just means they care more about the QB rather than the game itself, which is fair. It's part of the process. There was a lot of overlying stories that came into this game. So yes, going against them.
This is a great question, Paul. I was thinking about this too. Do you think the last second devastating loss will cause the Bears to miss the playoffs? Now, if it comes down to it, the Bears have a tough road ahead of us. We have the Cardinals this week, who are not a bad team at all. They can put up a fight. We'll talk about the next few games coming up as well. We got the Patriots coming up, which Drake May does not look bad as a Patriots quarterback. He's actually performing pretty well. Talking about this, if it comes down to it, man, we have a positive record right now. If we end up getting a few losses in the NFC North against some of these teams, it could cause the Bears to miss playoffs. This game could. It's, we could look back on other games too. Maybe the Texans game. I know they're a little bit of a tougher team than the Commanders. Not really this year. The Commanders are actually a little bit better than the Texans this year. Diggs just went down with a torn ACL. But, looking back on this, I could see this potentially being, a make or break for the Bears. People are like, this is the play that screwed up, the Bears' chances making playoffs. I hope it's not that. I hope the Bears can rally back on us. I hope they're fired up right now, man. I hope they were like, we played like crap that game. We played absolutely terrible until literally the 4th quarter when it mattered most. The defense obviously was stellar, but it's just, I don't know. What do you think about this, man?
I think, realistically, this game didn't have much to do with the Bears' playoff hopes. At the end of the day, we haven't played a single game in our division yet.
I see just about our record. That's just kind of what it is.
Yeah, it's just another loss in the record. And even then, being at 5-2 would still put us last in the division. Because of Green Bay's win and that's still the other part to think about, is that the games in our division are probably the most important games, because if we win all of those, then we're the top of the division. Mm-hmm. If we lose one of those games, literally one of the 3 teams that we play, then that still puts us at 4th or 3rd, which 3rd isn't guaranteed either. There's a lot of good teams in the NFC right now. So I think this game was tough. I don't think it depends a lot on the playoff hopes at the end of the year. I wasn't super over the top when it came to Bears playoffs hopes, because I saw how well the other teams in the division were playing. So that's what I feel. I feel this game was implemental to Caleb. I think the whole idea on the best rookie quarterback, I think that was the most important part about this game. When it comes to playoffs, I think it's week 11 when we play Green Bay in Chicago. I think that's the first game that you can kind of worry about, is playoffs and answer. But either way, we're still above 500. So 2 games, the next 2 games against the Patriots and the Cardinals can play a huge role as well, right? If we win both of those games, that puts us back into a position to talk about playoffs. So I think there's a lot of other games that are a little bit more important, but this is definitely an important game for the prosperity of how Caleb is going to look. But going into Caleb, I mean, we can go over some stats in this game. Definitely keep the questions rolling if you guys are going. Thank you for the nice questions. We got a lot
more questions actually. Here we go. Here's from Franco Sliwa again. Do we think Ryan Poles is going to make another mid-season big trade? Now, this is a big question, because we kind of, talked about this last week. There's some big pieces that potentially are on the, the trade or the trade clock, or I can't even talk right now. But Max Crosby being one, potentially Myles Garrett. Both of those general managers said they're off limits completely. Kind of like the Jets situation with their edge rusher. They're saying he's off limits. He didn't get traded, but he, settled with, his contract situation and stuff like that. This is a tough situation, because we have until next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is the NFL trade deadline for the whole entire league. It's hard. I don't see the Bears making an edge rush move. Our defense is stellar this year. I think we're doing great, this defense. If we're making a move, it might be an offensive lineman, like what the Jags did yesterday. They picked up, I believe, Cam Robinson or something like that. They traded for somebody from the Vikings. The Vikings traded the Jags for Cam Robinson. I think that would be like a move for, Ryan Poles would be an offensive lineman. Do you see a trade coming down?
I do not see it. I actually don't want to trade. I don't think there's a trade that's going to happen. If anything, it's going to be we're going to sign a player. I don't see us trading, because at the end of the day, I mean, a report that I saw today is that the Bears have 3 picks in between pick 20 and 40. Mm-hmm. There's 1 first-round pick and 2 second-round picks. I don't want to trade those, because at the end of the day, if you trade those for a player, what I heard that was important is that hinders the growth in the period that we have with Caleb, right? Yeah. You want to make sure we have Caleb as long as possible. If you're going to dispense that money on another young player that might not be here as long, or you're going to have to pay him as well, it's only gonna damage us. And Ryan Poles has done nothing but drafted really good players, right? Mm-hmm. Velus Jones, sure. Tyreek made a mistake. Tyreek is still a player that's going to start on 24 other rosters. Like that's the thing that we can't forget about, is that Tyreek made 1 bad play. He's still starting. He could go win a Super Bowl with any other team that's playing starting cornerback. I don't think the Bears make a trade here. I think we keep all of our draft assets. Mm-hmm. And we're 4-3. I mean, I gotta admit, we're doing a little bit better than I originally thought we would, even with the first 2 weeks looking pretty ugly, and also this last game. I don't see us making any trades. I think the draft capital is a little bit too important. And at the end of the day, offense has all the pieces you need. Defense is still top 5 in the league. Offensive line could use a little bit of help, but DeAndre Swift has 4 straight games of over 100 yards. I don't see why
he's doing amazing.
Caleb Williams is only getting sacked once or twice a game. I think at the end of the day, this Bears team's actually looking pretty good. We're just playing with a rookie quarterback. That's the only change that really can be made, is Caleb Williams playing a little bit more of a veteran play style.
Ahmadad had the same exact question that Paul did, basically about the trade line. It's a good question. Next Tuesday is going to be a bit, obviously we've seen a lot of teams, already trading for players. We saw what kind of went down yesterday. Deontay Johnson getting traded to the Ravens. A few other trades kind of going down, obviously Devontae Adams to the Jets, Amari Cooper to the Bills. There's some big names out there, and some offensive linemen, defensive linemen, other stuff like that. But it's kind of hard for seeing the Bears, potentially do some, just because their team is pretty good right now. Ryan Poles is the person to, pull the trigger, like, the Chiefs are. The Chiefs did, like potentially stacking these people, potentially for a Super Bowl. But he's looking toward the future. He's always looking to not ruin the next year, because he's looking at what mistakes were made before with Ryan Pace. Ryan Pace would, play these players like Khalil Mack. We remember we traded for Khalil Mack and paid him $200 million or something like that. That ruined the whole entire salary cap for the Bears. So he doesn't want to make that mistake again. But no, great question. I like these questions. And Justin, also, this is a great thing. We better win those games against the Patriots and the Cardinals. I agree, man. Those are game winners, especially after what happened to the Bears on Sunday. That is, huge games for the Bears, because we need to get back in the win category and not stick in this loss category. But yeah, kind of wrapping back to this Week 8 game against the Commanders. Caleb's last 2 drives gave the Bears the lead with 25 seconds left. He went 6 of 8 of passing, 95 yards. Caleb did, but we won't talk about that final play. It's in the past now. The Bears did lose to the Commanders 15-8. Obviously after the game, there's oh geez, I said 15.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that was my fault. 15-18. Yeah. So Eberflus now has 4 games where the Bears have had a 90% chance win, and they lost. 4 games under his belt. And I don't know if we pulled this up, but his away record is bad, man. I think he's only won 4 away games as a Bears head coach from what I've saw. So, I know all these people on Twitter saying, fire Flus. It's just, we got to, be patient, man.
We'll talk about that later on a little bit.
We'll talk about
what are advices on the front office and how those things are looking, especially this last game.
Yeah.
But temper the expectations. If you're reading things on Twitter, just know that people speak with a heavy heart. And the Bears are 4-3. Bears are 4-3. We lose that game, even if we win that game, the division stays the same. So positive record. But let's go through some stats from that game, just to give you guys a little bit of an idea of what exactly we're talking about, what players excelled and what players played bad. Caleb Williams, here's his stat line. Caleb Williams, 10 completions on 24 attempts. That is below 40%. 131 yards, 5-yard average, and 0 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Tyler has left the chat, unfortunately. So I'll carry on. This is now the D and not T in the 773. It is just me, Digio. Caleb, obviously, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He had 1 fumble. That was the Doug Kramer handoff. Unfortunately, that fumble did cost for him and not Doug Kramer, because they mentioned Doug Kramer never had full possession of it. While Caleb's 2 feet were still on the ground, he was the last one to have possession on it. And that he had that 1 fumble. He allowed 2 sacks for 20 yards. And 1 sack wasn't that bad, but the other sack was, hey, there, Tyler's back.
I'm back.
Sorry, you didn't miss much. I was just telling him about Caleb's stats. All good. Tyler is back. There was a second where I told him, I was like, oh, so we went from D and T to just D in the 773. It changed real quickly. But yeah, he allowed 2 sacks for 20 yards. I was just telling him that the fumble by Doug Kramer was actually counted for Caleb Williams, that he fumbled ball, just because Doug Kramer never had full possession. Again, he had 10 carries for 41 yards. So that is his 3rd straight game of over 5 carries that, amount to over 40 yards, which is really nice. 36 QBR. That is his 3rd lowest in the season after weeks 1 and 2. He didn't throw an interception, which definitely helped out a little bit. But I think we're going to go on to the best player of this game. And by the best player, I mean the only player that actually put up some numbers to help this team win. DeAndre Swift, 18 carries, 129 yards, and 1 touchdown. No catches on the day. As I mentioned, it's his 4th straight game with a touchdown and over 100 rushing yards. So that's something you can't put against the Bears O-line. He's providing, and the O-line is playing really well with him. Cole Kmet, 1 catch for 14 yards on only 1 target. That is a big Shane Waldron question mark. DJ Moore, 2 catches for 27 yards on 4 targets. Pretty dog. I don't know if I can swear on this, but that's pretty dog, bro. All the crap I was talking on Twitter. I have to delete tweets. I have to go back and delete tweets. All these things I said about DJ Moore being better than Terry McLaurin. Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? That sucked. Keenan Allen, 2 catches, 39 yards, 7 targets. So he was probably trying to be the most productive player on this offense when it came to pass catchers. And then here's the most productive: 3 catches for Rome Odunze for 41 yards on 6 targets. That number's got to be a lot higher, especially if you're playing against Commanders.
Exactly,
Commanders only scored field goals. And so I think this is the big part. Leading tackler for the team, Tremaine Edmonds with 10 tacklers. Right now it's a 3rd straight game where a Bears defender has put the leading tackler has put up more than 10 tackles, 10 or more. And then sacks and interceptions, 0 turnovers by this defense, 0 interceptions, 0 fumble recoveries. We had 1 sack by TJ Edwards and then 1 sack by Montez Sweat. Montez Sweat did have 3 QB hits, but only got to Jaden Daniels once. And that was the play that Jaden Daniels was kind of limping off the field. He had a little bit of trouble in his rims, but got to give it to Jaden. Jaden did play absolutely well for being someone who did get injured with a pretty bad rib contusion. So I got to give it to him. He played pretty well for being injured. So, but can we sit here and say that the best player of this game was probably Torrey Taylor? The steal of the draft. He had 7 punts for 341 yards. 7 punts. 7 punts. That's the record on the year.
Week 1, week 2, man. These are what happened. Yeah.
48.7 yard average per punts, which is right around his average. It's right around 10th to 13th in the league per punts. And then 5 punts inside the 20. That is probably his best stat of the year. That's something that, again, drove this team to have several 3-and-outs in the fourth quarter, drove the Commanders to have several 3-and-outs and just field goals because they had to go a long field. Their last drive was at the 5-yard line. So that's another big play by the punter here, and that's just something that we needed to capitalize a little bit more on. But back to one last stat. Here's Caleb's stat on the last 2 drives. I think this is important just because this is the only momentum that we're going to get from Caleb going into this next week, the only good play. Caleb's last 2 drives gave the Bears a lead with 25 seconds left. He was 6 of 8 passing for 95 yards in the last 2 drives. And that is with only being on the field for about 1 minute and 45 seconds. That's pretty good. His fourth quarter percentage is 3rd in the league when it came to his passing percentage. 3rd in the league. 3rd in the league behind, I think it was Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson.
It's a great company to be with, man.
Quarters 1 through 3, he is 13th. Jaden Daniels is number 3. He takes that spot for quarters 1 through 3. So I think that's a big part of what we're going to talk about. And we have a lot of fun facts to give you at the end of the show here on just why this team is playing well, but also playing so poorly. And what are some positives? Let's start off with some positive for the Bears here, Tyler. There's not a lot of beautiful things. We also have a new question here, but what are we thinking here when it comes to positives? There's not a lot of things to talk about, but what can you help us out here? I need something to think about, something good.
Well, there's a bunch of positive with the Bears. Obviously that last game was not a positive for the Bears at all whatsoever, but we'll get to that question in the chat in like a few minutes once we go over positive and negatives. But a positive for the Bears this game was definitely Caleb in the fourth quarter. He had, like I talked about, they had that spark. He knew that, he's down and he, potentially could lead us to a game-winning drive, which he almost did, very close. That's a big reason why the Bears moved on from Justin Fields. He had a lot of opportunities to have a fourth quarter drive and just couldn't execute. And Caleb is showing in the fourth quarter that he could potentially, take over in the fourth quarter. Bears rushing, man, was awesome. Obviously, we're not seeing any more any really besides a little bit of Roshan Johnson. DeAndre Swift is finally finding his edge, literally finding the edge. And he is, becoming a stellar running back for the Bears, over 100 yards this game. Totally. 4 straight games with a touchdown, man. DeAndre Swift is another positive for the Bears in this rushing. Also, once again, the defense was absolutely awesome. Oh, I forgot to change the upper so everybody knows. Yeah, we're talking about the positives. The defense was obviously awesome. Allowed 0 touchdowns that game, especially when Jaden Daniels on the field, who's been stellar this season. The Bears defense was once again another week. They put a lot of hectic on Jaden Daniels, and the defense performed well. Besides the very last play of the game. We won't get into it, but yeah.
Exactly.
Any other positives, man, or you want to go right to the negatives?
I think that's all the positives we have. I think Caleb's fourth quarter and the rushing was really good. I think there were some good defensive plays other than the secondary playing. I think we had those 2 sacks were kind of nice, but still there needs to be a little bit more defensively. Let's get to these negatives. We got too many negatives to talk about. Listen, this game was ugly. Okay, this game was not pretty. As you can tell, there's going to be a lot more negatives than there are positives. We tried to stick to the positives as much as possible, so I went through them first, right? You asked someone, do you want the good news first or the bad news? And over here, we'd like to talk about the bad news last.
We're giving you the good news first. We got to talk about the good news, and then we can hit you with that bad news. So, Dan, hit us with that bad news, man.
Bad news. O-line was trouble here. O-line was trouble. They, I think 56% of the plays that Commanders ran, they tried to blitz on Caleb. They gave pressure, and that is where Caleb usually thrives. Caleb was like top 10 in the league when it came to him being pressured and him releasing the ball. Caleb had 2.87 seconds per rush for him to throw out the ball. So of course he got 2 sacks. Of course he would throw out the ball when Keenan Allen was wide open because he was too scared to throw an interception. There was a lot of bad plays there, and the O-line kind of started with it. There was not a lot of time for Caleb to throw the ball. Secondary, oh my gosh, we're talking about Jalen Johnson got scorched. He got smoked in this game, dude. This is, again, a secondary that we're pleading with. Tyreek Stevenson didn't play absolutely horrible, but Terry McLaurin is that one player that really, really set the tone early. He had that 61-yard catch. These are players that are trying really hard because they know that they're talking about the Bears the same way the Bears are talking about the Commanders. So secondary got torched, smoked this game.
And Tyreek Stevenson had a few. He had a bad what's called penalty against him too. It was I
think it was like a taunting or something against.
Yeah, it was a taunt. He almost threw a punch at one of the players. Yeah, so yeah,
disgusting. And leading on to that, right? You gotta be better at coaching your players and calling plays for them. So play calling and coaching was. I mean, dude, as a Bears fan, we're talking about this every single week, how bad this play calling is. And there's a few weeks, the last 2 weeks, we're sitting here being like, hey, are they figuring it out? No, man. It's just negative again. It's just looking really bad.
Dude, why is it when it comes down to these like primetime games? I know it was in a primetime slot game, but we ended up getting slotted into the 325 CBS slot with Tony Romo and Jim Nantz, which obviously is this game that a lot of people are going to watch. I think it was the game of the week. I think it was America's game of the week, if I recall correctly. But why is it always when the Bears are in those games, whether it's Sunday Night Football or one of those, they freeze up, man? When it's a normal Fox podcast or we look great. It makes no sense to me. Like these Bears need to play the game like it's just another game. It's just don't look at, we're on CBS. We're on Sunday Night Football. They got to play this game like it's, another game.
Exactly. And so that's, other than the play calling, we can talk about that week in, week out. That's obviously been a problem. That's something that's going to need to get a little bit better, even though the last 3 weeks didn't look absolutely horrible. Caleb's inconsistencies have been a bit rough. That's still just being a rookie quarterback. So I'm not going to touch on that too much. I think he had a great fourth quarter. This game was Dan Quinn, led one of the best Dallas defenses in the last 5 years. So he understands how to pressure the quarterback. He got to him quick. Caleb had a pretty bad game, but still completed good enough passes to keep us in the game in the fourth quarter. So let's not ignore that part. DJ Moore, I think, was one of my biggest upsets. I was a little bit upset with the way he was playing. Obviously, that goes a little bit with targets. I mean, he wasn't targeted a whole lot, but man, that's a guy who had 12 catches for 230 yards and 3 touchdowns last year. So I think getting him in and early was a very key part of the game. Caleb completed 3 passes at halftime.
He did have a crucial catch though, man. He had he had that 35-yard catch or whatever that got us into the red zone. That was a big play by DJ Moore, but that was like the big play by DJ Moore that whole entire game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was a big part of it though. I think he can definitely try to, I mean, it's a little bit with the play calling. I think he can definitely try to get his head more into the game, and he had a big catch, but I don't see a reason why he shouldn't be getting 10 targets a game. Like same with Rome. Like there's no reason for that. Red zone scoring. Red zone scoring was another ugly thing. We saw the Doug Kramer thing, blah, 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 whatever. If the Bears are in the red zone, we got to start scoring. We have some of the best wideouts in the league that can really produce at a high level. And same with DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift had to score himself from the 50-yard line. Like we got to get there. There's got to be a couple better answers when it comes to scoring in the red zone.
Yeah.
And then last thing, the same thing happened with this last game. Coaching the defense to finish close games, I think, is a really big one. When it comes to coaching Tyreek Stevenson, coaching Jalen, Montez Sweat being like, hey, you're our best player. You got to be in there. There's got to be a little bit of better way of just getting the defense to finish some of these close games.
Exactly.
The 3 losses the Bears had this year all were 1-score games, right? And 2 of those games were because of the offense didn't really play too well in the last drive.
Yeah, man,
the defense can finish these games. I saw a really good quote by John Gruden when he was coaching his, I think it was the Pittsburgh team. There was a moment where he told them like, hey, offense isn't playing too well. Let's tell defense, can you do this for me? Can you score 9 touchdowns this year? That's the goal. Let me see you score 9 touchdowns. That was a really important thing for me to look at because this Bears team is still being top 5 in the league. I'm not saying you guys got to score touchdowns, but can I see you do a little bit more? Can I see you lead the league in interceptions? Can I see you get 5 sacks in one game? Maybe a new sack record for the Bears. Like just something important because the defense is looking really well. They're playing really well, but it's not smart. They're playing roughneck football, but not at the end of the day, it's not smart football. Yeah. So that's something that goes onto the coaching there. That's all I got for negatives. We can go worse and worse, but those are kind of the main 6 or 7 I can talk about. If we're gonna go bad, though, if we're gonna go bad. I know someone asked a question here that's kind of relating to this.
In that right now, yeah.
Tyler, what are you? How are you feeling about the coaching and the offensive coordinator position, or even the defensive coordinator? What are you thinking?
You know, Franco Sliwa, like you must be reading our script because like that was actually the next thing we were getting to. Like when talking about this is basically in a perfect world. Should we move Flus to the defensive coordinator spot and then get an offensive head coach? Any comments on that? This is a great thought. I was literally thinking the same thing. But the thing is, if Flus is still in the building, it could it's just kind of like the whole White Sox thing with like keeping the same, people as coming up for their manager spot. I don't know. Do I think Eberflus is the problem? I don't think he is like the sole problem. There's a lot of problems with this team. Like obviously it comes down to some players on the defense, especially with the last week. Every week it's somebody a little bit different. I know there's the report that came out yesterday, which kind of hurt Bears fans a lot, saying that Ben Johnson was potentially in the talks for that head coach spot. But we were like the first team to say, oh, we're sticking with our head coach, which I talked to actually my girlfriend's brother about that. And he was like, why did we make that decision that quick? Like we didn't even see all the candidates that were out there yet. And I agree. Like that was way too quick of a move for Ryan Poles to make, for Eberflus to say head coach. You have to see who's out there first. If Ben Johnson wanted to be a head coach, he would have been an awesome head coach. And maybe the Lions wouldn't even be first in the division this year.
Best offense. He's leading the league's best.
They're the best team right now. They are seriously the best team. I know everyone's saying the Chiefs because they're undefeated, but I don't know if the Chiefs and Lions play, but I'm taking the Lions in that game, man. I am. I think the Lions are just absolutely awesome this year. But that's why kind of getting back to it. Do I think Eberflus should move to defensive corner? I think Eberflus is awesome on defense. I don't mind him being a defensive coordinator. I think Alan Williams has done a stellar job this year so far. So I don't see Alan Williams taking another role. I think if Eberflus is going to go, he's going to go. He's not going to be a defensive coordinator. Nobody's going to take that demotion from being a head coach to being a coordinator. He was a coordinator before, got brought up to the head coach. He's not going to take that demotion. So, exactly. But I would love for the Bears in the offseason. Let's see how this year rolls around. Maybe Eberflus is going to learn from mistakes. Damn, I have these timeouts. I should have used them. But that's what I think. I think the Bears just let this year roll out and see what happens. We're not going to fire them in the middle of the season. That's not going to happen. We're not pulling a Robert Saleh. It's not like they're 2-6 like the Jets are right now. But Danny, I got to get your opinion on this, man.
Yeah, I think so. First of all, I'll say, yeah, it's impossible. Bears have never, it's one of the only teams that have never fired their coach midseason. So that's going to be really hard. It's also never been done that I don't think a team's ever taken the head coach that isn't an interim head coach and put him in a different position, because that deals with the players, right? The players have the players are going to see a new coach come in. They're going, you know what? I liked Eberflus a lot. I'm not going to listen to this new coach. I'm going to listen to Flus. Flus is my coach. Flus is my guy. You got to start fresh. You got to rip the Band-Aid off. It's the same way where it's like when you're like, when a team like the Bulls per se, let go of Gar Forman, right? And John Paxson, they gave them really, really small roles. That's the only thing you do. They no coaching, no nothing. They were scouts. That's all they did. They were not in the building anymore, because you need to kind of start a clean slate. You do. And both of those guys are gone. And it's still affecting us to this day. The reason why they were still in the building after they got demoted. Here's what I'm going to say about Flus. I think Flus and Waldron I'm going to put in the same category, because those are the two guys leading the offense and the defense. The defensive corner is doing a great job. At the end of the day, Flus is the mind behind the defense. Flus needs to finish with a winning record, I think. And with a winning record, I talked to Tyler about this before we started the cast. You got to beat two of those three teams in the division. That's the only way that he's going to stay. If he loses both games to the Packers, both games to Minnesota and the Lions, that's going to be bad.
If we go 0-6 in our division, he's gone. Like you cannot not have a win in our division, man. You can't do that. The division is like the tiebreakers. You know what I mean? Yeah. If it goes down to a record, they figure out, what's the division record? If the Bears have 0 wins and 6 losses, they're clearly not going to make the playoffs. I agree with you, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah,
it's okay. I will say he did that last year. We didn't have a winning record. We finished 8-9, or I think it was 7-10. Not a winning record, but beat two teams in the division. Beat the Lions once and beat the Vikings once. That helps us out a lot last year, because last year gave us a little bit of growth, being a team with the number 1 overall pick that had a 7-win season. I think that's the only way that Flus stays. If he gets us a winning record and he beats 2 teams in that division. If he's not beating 2 teams in that division, guess what? We're going to be calling Ben Johnson and we're going to be saying, I'm begging you to come back. I'm begging you because that's the number one offense. They haven't lost to a team in the division yet.
Nope.
And for Waldron, I think I'm fine with Waldron. I think I'm okay with Waldron. Waldron's not doing so bad. I think the idea that the rushing game is looking good and Caleb had a game with 4 touchdowns as well as a game with 300 passing yards, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Remember, Danny, we're Bears fans. Everyone overreacts. And I like this comment. I don't know. I see, Brian Flores going from a head coach to be an outstanding defensive coordinator for the Vikings. I understand it's separate organizations, but I feel that's a prime example of success. I agree with this. But basically, if you stick in that same organization, though, it's gonna, ruffle feathers. Flus is not gonna want to be demoted back to a coordinator on the same organization. He'll have to go to a different team. Flores went to a different organization, is amazing with the Vikings. He could not get a head coaching job. He decided to take that defensive coordinator job with the Vikings. He's doing awesome. But that is a great example. Franco Sliwa, that is a great example.
Think about where Poles came from, right? Poles came from the Chiefs that won a Super Bowl. Chiefs are not making those moves. I think that's the kind of idea that Poles is still in this Chiefs mindset where all they're doing is building with good young draft picks. And then when the time's coming to a close, right, they see Travis Kelce getting hurt, they see Travis Kelce getting older, they see Andy Reid getting older. Then you start trading for these players because they're a bit injury prone. But I think the way Poles is working right now, Poles is knowing that rookie quarterback, right? Rookie quarterback at the end of the day, like you got to worry about him the most. He's the most like entertaining player. He's the part that's getting us the most money. But like I said before, I'm keeping Flus unless he gets a losing record and gets swept by teams in our division. Waldron, I'm cool with. Waldron, I'm fine with. I think at the end of the day, Waldron's doing well for Caleb. Caleb has a couple good games, but when you look at a game like this Commanders team, I can tell you he's on the hot seat. It's not looking absolutely beautiful, but I'm fine with Waldron. I think Waldron does finish off the year still on the Bears. And
I love this comment by I'm a Dad right here. Torrey Taylor as Rookie of the Year. I agree, man. He's been stellar for the Bears, and it's great when he's not on the field. This week, obviously, he was on the field a lot, but yeah, man, it's a tough situation. Bears fans can get pretty rowdy pretty quick, especially when obviously coming off a loss when it's number 1 versus number 2. Lots of hype going into it. Being the CBS game and stuff like that. But it's just got to calm down a little bit. We have a winning record right now. Let's calm down. Let's just, take it one game at a time. Am I over what happened on Sunday? No, I'm not over it, but it's been a little better, a little better. We go into this week against Arizona, which is a winnable game. Should have won the game last week. Did we deserve to win? No. But this is a winnable game for the Bears. And then we play the Patriots. The Patriots are starting to, get a little better too with Drake May, but we'll see.
And TJ Edwards had a really good quote. After the game, he said that he's like, listen, I have lost the Super Bowl. I, on my team, have lost the Super Bowl to one possession game.
Yeah.
And he said, this is a game in the middle of the season that doesn't really matter all that much. There wasn't necessarily huge implications. It's not the last game of the year. We're coming back next Sunday. Or you're going to see us play next Sunday, and we're going to be better. That was a huge thing for me because I think that's what the team needs to hear is that, again, it's a veteran presence. It's like, this game isn't the end of the year. This isn't the game that's going to decide if we're going to make playoffs or not. Playoffs shouldn't be the goal, right? The goal should be, let's see this team mesh together. Let's see this team kind of prosper together this whole entire year. And let's get the coaching right. Let's call some really good plays. Let's call some really good games. But I also like this quote. As you can tell, we're moving past the game. It's currently Wednesday. And so today, the Bears had their first practice of the week heading to a game in Arizona. That's actually an away game. Bears changed their Wednesday practice to a walkthrough instead of a padded practice because of the idea that the offensive line was a little bit banged up. And I think Flus just wanted to talk. He wanted to have conversations. And so Caleb said this about the Wednesday walkthrough. He said, we had a grown men talk. No raising voices, period. We want to win, period, end quote. That's a pretty good quote. That's what you want to hear from your quarterback. I think that's fine. I think having a day to have conversations, right? Usually when you hear about a Bulls or Bears or Blackhawks team having an early season talk, right? Having an early season timeout to talk about things, it's a little tough. But mid-season, week after a bye, I think this is necessary. Again, rookie quarterback, this needs to happen. These conversations need to happen. This helps you more than a padded practice. So that's something to look forward to. At the end of the day, this is a team that's trying hard to, get better reps with a rookie quarterback. There's a lot of veteran presence there. I don't know, you look at a player like Martellus Bennett. You think he's worried? You think that game really mattered to him so much? It's his last season. He wants to make a big splash, right?
Yeah.
One game, one loss in the season isn't going to make a huge difference. So let's start worrying about what these veterans have to say and where they're a prime example for these younger players. And heading on to week 8 or week 9. Should we talk about week 9?
Week 9. I'm so excited, man. I'm so excited for week 9. Obviously, I don't understand what's going on.
Blurry.
Dude, my camera is like, it focuses on the microphone, then it focuses on me, and it's like I don't know what to do. Like I just
a bit blurry.
But it'll fix itself in a little bit. I hope. Let's see. No, it's not. It'll fix itself hopefully. But anyway, Bears Cardinals on Sunday at 3:05. It's in Arizona at AZ. It's going to be a good game for the Bears. I'm really looking forward to this game. There's not really that many injuries for the Cardinals that I've heard of. For the Bears, on the other hand, we do have a little bit of injuries going on. We have Karan, who is our new left tackle. I don't know if the status of Braxton Jones at the moment. I'll definitely look it up right now. But Karan is probably not going to play this week. He did end up getting a calf injury from what I've heard. Looking at the injury report right now, just to let you guys know. There were non-participants, Karan, Jaquan Brisker with his concussion, Kyler Gordon with his hamstring, Braxton Jones with his knee, and Montez Sweat with his shin did not practice today. They were non-participants today in practice. Okay. Ryan Bates and Tevin Jenkins were limited, and Larry Borum was a full participant today.
So it looks like Larry Borum will be taken off IR, off the practice window, and he'll be most likely playing for this week, which is good because he's another big piece of the O-line that we've missed the last few weeks. So not to mention the Bears are sitting here at 4-3 and the Cardinals are here at 4-4. Both teams around 500 or over. I think this is a big game for the Cardinals as well because the Cardinals have had 2 straight game-winning field goals in the last 2 games. So they've played some close games and they haven't had particularly amazing offensive or defensive prowess going these last 2 games, but they have won on games that are close games on game-winning field goals. So that's something we haven't seen from the Bears yet. We have not seen a Bears team that has won it off of field goals or won it off of close possessions rather than scoring a touchdown to win or getting a touchdown score on us to win. So injuries or not, the injuries will be there. We saw what the injuries did to us last week. I think if Brisker and Gordon were in that game, it would look a lot different. There would be, I don't know if that last play would even happen, but looking at this game, this is another team that's hungry, right? The Cardinals are hungry because they also had number 4 pick Marvin Harrison Jr. He's been lining up this year. He had 111 yards this last week, so he's torching defenses. I think it's another important thing to have. There goes Tyler. There's another important thing to have this defense in the secondary. Stay loose for this offense because they're looking pretty good. And so, other than those injuries that we have for the Bears, right? It would be nice to get some of that secondary back into the mix. What are some adjustments? We don't have to go through many adjustments here because we're going to do a little bit of a bear down, bear frown after this. But what are some quick adjustments you have for this upcoming game?
There's a few adjustments, man. Just a few. Let's kind of get this pass game going again. I know the rush game kind of got going last week. Let's get the pass game going again. Let's kind of catch these Arizona Cardinals by off target a little bit, and let's get the pass game going. That's what I'm saying. What about you, man?
I think get to the freaking quarterback. Hit the quarterback, dude.
There we go. That's a good one. The
defensive line isn't that bad. I know. I look at Javon Dexter. He got a bit banged up this last game, but he's on the rise still, and I want to see him get a couple more hits. I want to see him make some sophomore year leaps, right? Or I think it's even his junior year. I think it might be his 3rd season, but I want to see him make some jumps. I want to see this defensive line kind of get more hits on the quarterback. Kyler Murray isn't all that different from Jaden Daniels, and Kyler Murray's been in the league for quite a while. Do you remember the last game we played against Arizona in Arizona? Do you happen to remember that game? It was Andy Dalton's start. It was Andy Dalton was the starter, and the Andy Dalton threw 4 interceptions. The game ended, I think, like 42-10. I remember that game because I was in Arizona. I was not watching the game. I was not there for the game. I was there on a hiking trip to visit my cousins, but I remember being there, and it was hell because the entire time my family was telling me about how bad the Bears were with Justin Fields sitting on the bench, and all I wanted to see was the Bears have a good quarterback because throwing 4 interceptions in a game, and Arizona wasn't even that good that year. So that was tough. I think that's my biggest thing is rush the quarterback. Just try to make this game a little bit easier on you. The Bears have how can I say this? The Bears have never been the first team to score in any of these games this entire season. Not a single game have the Bears had a 7-0 or 3-0 score. We have not scored on any of the first possessions. Every other team has scored first. Let's get to this quarterback, man. Let's try to hit him up a little bit more. I think that's my only adjustment for this next week. It's just defense has been playing well. Let's get to the freaking quarterback, man. Let's just make some short plays. Let's make sure they get more 3-and-outs. I'm sick of them scoring field goals. I'm sick of them scoring touchdowns. So if you're done with that, Todd, we can get to pretty much one of the better parts of the segment.
Let's do it, bro. Let's do it.
So let's start off with a little bit of bear down or bear frown, right? Not only was the game pretty bad last week, we went 0 for 4 on our BDBF.
We went 0 for 4, bro.
0 for 4, and it wasn't even close, unfortunately. I mean, one of them was quite close, but it just looked bad. So first one was wide receivers combined for over 185 yards, only 114 yards.
That's a big difference.
Cole Kmet got one more catch for 13 yards, so that's the only difference that we had. And after looking at the way that game went, easily could have got 185. Easily, right? 4 more catches, and that could have been 185. Caleb rushing for over 45 yards was the second one. He only rushed for 41. So that was also a loss.
Close.
4 yards away. 4 yards away. Bears defense gets 3 or more takeaways. We finished the game with, you guessed it, a donut 0 takeaways.
We're greedy Bears fans, man. We really
are, man. We are. I thought going against Jaden Daniels, another rookie quarterback, I thought Flus was going to coach the hell up in this game.
Man.
That's what I thought. Unfortunately, we got outcoached. Last one. After a 2-touchdown game, Cole Kmet. We banked on Cole Kmet getting 1 or more touchdowns. How many touchdowns did he get? 0, because he only caught the ball once. So, yeah, we went 0 for 4. That kind of sucked because the week before that we went 3 for 4, and so we were trying to be there for you guys to make some really, really outstanding, guesses here. But unfortunately, we went 0 for 4, so we apologize for you guys. If you guys wanted to actually put down some bear down or bear frown for next week's game, because we will have these next 4 for Arizona. If you guys have any to give us for week 10 against the New England Patriots, which I believe we'll be playing away. Let me check real quick.
Patriots are at home.
We'll be playing home. Yes, we'll be playing at home. So if you guys wanted to push any for Tyler, Tyler will be at the game.
I will be there.
If you guys wanted to give us any of those for next week, we'll gladly accept. But going into week 9, bear down or bear frown. I'm going to start off with the first 2, Tyler, and then I'll let you go ahead with the next 2, and we'll kind of conversate. And you guys can, in the comments, can tell us whether you think the same. All right, so for week 9, bear down or bear frown against the Arizona Cardinals. Bears win by a touchdown or more. What do we think? Bear down or bear frown?
I'm going to go bear down this one, man. I think they're sparked. I think they're hyped. I'm not saying they're going to win by 14, but I'm going to say they win by a touchdown. I'm going to go bear down this one, man.
I will also go bear down. I think this is a game that, again, I think the offense is going to start clicking a little bit. It's not really a great defense. It's an offense that scored at most 20 points each game. I mean, they've averaged 20 points this year. So I think we win by a touchdown or more. I think it's definitely a game that Flus is going to try to get his buyers back, right? Try to get some stock back in Flus here. All right, next one. So this one's been going on for the last 4 weeks. Does DeAndre Swift have his 5th game in a row with over 100 rushing yards?
Ooh, this is a good one, man.
Game number 5 in a row.
This is another good one. I think. How's the Cardinals defense on rushing?
Not so great. Not so great. I mean, the last 2 teams they've played have had pretty good rushers, but have not hit over 100 yards, I don't think.
Yeah.
But I think it's because of low-scoring games, bad offenses. DeAndre Swift he's getting those 30-yard runs. He's getting those 40-yard runs. So, I mean, I think it's a little bit different when it comes to the Bears,
Give me a bear down this one. I think Swift's going to go 100+. He's got, 4+, 3 games in a row with 100+. I'm going to go bear down this. He's going to continue that streak. How about you?
All right. I think I'm going to go bear frown just to go a little bit opposite here. I think he gets the 100 yards. I don't think they're all rushing, though. I think he gets a little bit of passing work. Yeah. Like we said last week, I think this is a game that I just feel like Caleb is going to have to throw the ball again. I think Caleb is going to have one of those games where it's 300 yards passing or 4 touchdowns because there's got to be some level of consistency that we're going to try to put, especially against a Cardinals team that's won really close games and they haven't really had the best offense or defense. So I think I'm going to go bear frown there, but I think he still gets his 100 yards, just maybe more so in the passing game. All right, last 2, Tyler. What do you think here?
Bear down or bear frown. The Bears to score in every quarter of the game, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown against the Arizona Cardinals. This is a hard one, man. I'm going to go Bear Frown on this one. I think there's going to be one quarter just the Bears don't score. I would like to be a big greedy Bears fan and go Bear down on all these we're going to talk about, but I'm going to go Bear Frown on this. What about you?
I'm going to go Bear down. I think for the first time all season, the Bears get the first score of the game. I don't know what it's going to look like if they get first possession yet, but I think we do score at least a field goal or a touchdown in each quarter. I can see a field goal in the first quarter, a touchdown in the second, field goal in the third, and then 2 touchdowns in the fourth is kind of what I'm looking at. So that's what I go. I'm going Bear down. But what do you think on the fourth one here, Tyler? This is one that we usually try to add in a little bit here now and then. But
this is a good one. Bears to have 2 or more takeaways this game after having a game with 0 takeaways last week. This is a tough one because, obviously we thought we were going to have 3+ takeaways last week. You know what? I'm going to go Bear Frown on this, unfortunately. I think it's going to be like 1. It might be a forced fumble or a strip sack on Kyler Murray, maybe an interception. I'm going to go Bear Frown on this one. I think they're only going to have maybe potentially 1 takeaway. What do you think about that, man?
I think Bear Frown as well. I think if the defense is still pretty banged up and a lot of the secondary isn't going to end up playing, I'm looking at 1 or 2. 2 or more sounds crazy, so I'm looking at probably 1. 1's a pretty good number. I'll go Bear Frown on that. Right, so there's our 4.
We got Doug in the chat. What's up, Doug? He just asked us real quick, how were Caleb's passing yards last week? That's a good question, man.
Exactly what he got here. So the stats that he had last week are 131 passing yards, 10 completions on 24 attempts. 88 of those passing yards, or 85 of those passing yards, came in the last 2 minutes of the game. He had 3 completions at halftime.
Yeah. So that's a good question, Doug. Yeah.
Pretty dog until the last 2 minutes of the game, which is still the most important part. He almost won us the game, but going on from that, we have
that's leading into kind of what we're going to talk about next, which is basically every week we kind of stack up these stats with Caleb Williams and kind of talk about how Caleb has been as a Bear. So Caleb Williams stats through 8 weeks, man. Dan, what is that? Or after 8 weeks? Yeah,
through 8 weeks. Yeah, because the bye week, right? So
after 8 weeks. So let's talk about that. What does that look like right now, man?
So right now it is looking like 223 attempts.
Ooh, my camera got fixed. Let's go.
Nice. I
don't understand this camera, man. Like I bought it. It's a nice camera, and it just all of a sudden goes out of focus.
140 completions on 223 attempts. That is roughly a 62.8 completion percentage. It's right there in the middle of the league, right? So it's not Tyus. It's not like Jaden Daniels, but we're also not talking Daniel Jones here either, okay? So 1,448 yards. That is roughly it's roughly 1,800 off of the Bears' all-time passing record at 3,204. He has 9 touchdowns and 5 interceptions on the year. He has 2 fumbles, 35 carries for 210 yards. That is right now, I think, around 10th or 11th in all QB categories. An 85.6 passer rating, which is, again, right in the middle there. It's not bad, but it's not great. He is ranked 19th in the league right now for average QB. He was ranked 16th the week before, so I think this last game definitely put a bit of an edge on him, putting him a couple spots. But I think I want this number to be a little bit higher. I think halfway through the season, I would really love to be close to that 2,000-yard mark, especially the touchdowns can be a little bit higher. Not throwing a touchdown that last game was pretty bad, because Jaden Daniels didn't either. He threw 1 last Hail Mary, but I think getting those touchdowns up a little bit higher will make me happy, because right now we're looking at those Trubisky, we're looking at those field numbers and thinking that it could be a little bit higher, but at the end of the day, those QBs didn't do ultimately that poorly in their rookie season. They had a way worse supporting cast, so that's it. Those are his numbers, and we can argue about it. We can live with it. I'm gonna happen to live with it, because at the end of the day, he's playing well. He had 2 games that he played out of his mind, so we just we can't be upset. We gotta be thankful for the way he's playing. But other than that, other than the players that are staying on this team, the Bears had to move, Tyler. And I don't know. We can shake up some champagne. We can celebrate with some cake. There's been one Bears move, and that is your favorite, your Hard Knocks.
I bought his jersey last week, man, and they just they had to ship him off.
So what happened is the Bears ended up dropping 3rd-round pick out of the 2021 draft. Wide receiver / running back / kick returner Velus Jones Jr. was released.
Also, one more player, Blassingame, the fullback.
Kari Blassingame was also dropped.
He was released too, so both players.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of the idea of, Roshan Johnson's definitely going to be more involved in the running back room.
Mm-hmm.
I think seeing the way the Swift's playing, that's another idea that we don't need many running backs on our roster. Bring in more linemen, bring in more defensive linemen, try to get a little bit deeper. But Velus Jones, his career was not over, and the drought has not begun for him. He was picked up 24 hours later by the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yes, he was.
Also had three key starters on their wide receiver room / running back room get injured last weekend. So he got picked up by the Jaguars, and I think he might get some solid minutes. I think the role that he's going to play is a little bit like Laviska Shenault, if anyone remembers his role on the Jaguars offense. He was a little bit of an all-around everywhere guy. He was playing running back, kick returner, punt returner, and wide receiver. I think they're going to try to put him in that position, and I wouldn't be surprised if he actually plays pretty well.
Mm-hmm. I'm not, bashing Velus Jones at all whatsoever. Obviously, and if you're a former Bear and you didn't obviously you did have those, fumbled punts and, the muff kicks and all those other stuff. He obviously were ruined. I'm ruined for him. I would have been nice to get a 4th round pick for him, like what was projected earlier in the season. And Ryan Poles is like, I'm not going to settle for a 4th round pick with Velus Jones. He wanted more for him. I think he was reaching way too hard. I think he wanted a 3rd round pick.
I think he looked at him better as a player, weirdly enough. But
yeah. But anyway, good for Velus Jones. I'm happy he's on a team. He deserves to be on a roster. In my opinion, he deserves to be on a roster. He does not deserve to, receive punts because that's not his go-to. Yeah. Maybe he'll be a deep ball guy for him. I don't know.
He didn't get the right coaching. I think he also just didn't fit the mold of what we needed him to be. If he was going to be a speedy slot receiver, that would have been great. He doesn't have the position for that right now because our receivers that are starting aren't getting enough action anyway. So I hope he does well. And I said that in the group chat today when someone posted it. There's a lot of eyes that are looking at it like, oh my God, thank God we'll probably be better off without him, which I don't disagree with. I agree that we'll probably be better without him, but I do wish him the best of luck because at the end of the day, one thing that he's got is speed, and that's something that scores touchdowns in this league. Yeah. He had 3 rushing touchdowns in a Bears uniform. That's more. I think that's more than a lot of the backup or running backs we have in the running back room right now. That's not Roshan, Herbert, or Swift. So I think that's a pretty good pickup for the Jaguars. I'm wishing him the best of luck. And Velus, sorry that didn't work out here for you in Chicago. Again, this is a city that does breed a lot of hate when it comes to players that don't perform well. But at the end of the day, I hope your career does go well and long. And he stayed pretty healthy his entire career. So I think hope things go well for you in the sunny state of Jacksonville, Florida. So good luck to you. Good luck to you.
Now let's push on to the next 3 games for the Bears, and then we'll finish up this podcast with some fun facts about the Bears. We're going to end off always fun with you. So next 3 games for the Bears are going to be 3 important games. Obviously, we talked about and previewed a little bit. Bears Cardinals on Sunday at 3:05 in Arizona. Then they come back to Chicago the next week for the Bears against the New England Patriots at noon at Soldier Field against Drake May. I'll be at that game. I'm super excited to go to Soldier Field for the first time this year. Obviously, I've been to Soldier Field in the past, but first time this year going to Soldier Field. I know you went a few weeks ago against the Panthers, which was awesome. And then we got one more home game back-to-back. It's going to be against the Green Bay Packers.
Ooh.
Boo.
Screw.
They're performing really well this year.
They are.
If we can get a little bit of a roll with the Cardinals, the Patriots, get a little momentum, 2 games in a row, potentially get to that 3rd game with the Packers, this would be a good momentum boost for the Bears.
Again, that would put us at 6-3. That would put us quite evenly with the Packers right now, who I believe are 5-2, or they might be somewhere around 6-2 or something like that. I forgot how many games they've played, but obviously as Bears fans, you could tell that we very much dislike the Packers. We have won 5 of the last 25 meetings with them. Flus currently has not won a game against the Packers. Nope. Matt LaFleur is he's 11-0 against the Bears in his career coaching. He has not lost to the Bears yet. So this being a home game could be pretty interesting. There's a lot of people out there that are saying with the way that the Packers are playing this season, don't be surprised to see the Bears play pretty well against them. Again, Jordan Love and the Packers offense has 3 takeaways a game. They're losing the ball 3 times a game. And most of the times that they're playing, those 3 takeaways aren't being translated into points. I'll tell you one thing: the Bears are hungry, and if we get a takeaway, those 3 takeaways might end up being 21 points. I'd said that in the last podcast we had, so that's something you got to keep in mind. A big game for Flus, big game for LaFleur. Let's try to get this win here because that could, again, 3 games in a row that might not be 2 easy games, but those 3 wins could make us 7-3 that will make me forget all about the Washington game. Let me tell you, that will make a huge difference. Yeah. And so those are the next three. We'll tell you what
big
the game
after that's
going to be next week, but that's a big one. Tyler, I hope you enjoy that New England game. We'll talk about it next week, and we'll try to
so excited, man.
Dive deep into it. But to finish off, thank you guys for staying along here for the hour that we had. As you can notice, we're trying to do things a little bit later now in the day so we can get more viewers here. We like the comments rolling in. We like the people having the questions, the people having their own thoughts. This is a podcast all about opinions, right? We're here to just give you facts about Chicago sports, stats, and these amazing statistics on Chicago sports. So we're just glad that you guys can be here. At the end of the day, if there's one thing that we can agree on, we both hate Green Bay, but we understand that the way this team goes, we gotta take the good things in little parts. So we're excited about it. But let's go on with some Bears fun facts. 2 fun facts, 1 bad fact. Okay, we'll start off with the bad fact. The Bears have only scored 10 points combined in the first quarter of this season. That goes back to Matt Nagy's 2019 season, I believe it was, where the Bears only scored 10 points that entire year in the third quarter. So Bears are looking a little bit different this year when it comes to the second half. This year, we're looking pretty bad in the first quarter. I think it's just having a rookie quarterback, right? But here are some 2 incredible stats. So the Bears the streak goes to 11 games of allowing 21 points or less, as the Commanders only scored 18 points this last game. I think it was 4 field goals and 1 touchdown. 21 points or less in 11 straight games. That is incredible.
It's amazing for the Bears defense.
If the Bears can score more than 21 points, that means we win that game. So that is just a little thing to think about, where that's 3 touchdowns. That's 3 touchdowns. If the Bears can score 3 touchdowns a game, which might be a little crazy, maybe 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals, fine. Onto the last one here. Bears are on a 7-game home winning streak. Obviously, we have not played the last 2 games at home. Technically, the Jaguars was a home game, but this week against Arizona, we'll see how that game goes. But there's a chance that against those Patriots and against those Packers, both P's, right, the P teams, that could be a 9-game home win streak, which would be, league leading.
Awesome,
currently, it is the only, it's the highest record in the NFL of home win games, 7 games in a row. That's something to think about. So do what you want with that information, and good luck to the Bears this week over playing in Arizona. And I know my cousin might be listening to the stream right now. Sorry, Peter, I'm sorry about that, but I hope the Bears can, win this game, and I'm sure you can agree with us. Peter actually told me earlier in this season, after I think week 5, he said, "Is it too late to transition into a Bears fan?" And honestly, we're still accepting applications. So if you want to be a Bears fan, come on down, Peter.
We got to preview them first. We got to look and see. We'll
see. Make sure background check. We'll check your tweets. See what kind of hate you've been dishing out here and there. But either way. Appreciate everyone for listening in, whether you're a Bears fan or not. We also welcome people who aren't Bears fans to the podcast. Just kind of give their information down, right? If you're a Cardinal fan, let me know what you think about the game that's coming up. So appreciate everyone. Tyler, I can't give you a bigger thanks anyway. This is the guy that's been around for every single week. He's always been there. I can count on him every single time to share the same emotions, share the same ideas and stats that we're going through to talk to you guys about. I wouldn't be here without Tyler. This is something we've been doing for plenty of years of our life. So thank the Bears, but also thank you, man.
Yeah, same thing that goes, man. We did this back in college, talking about, all the different sports going back, our days at DePaul. Took a few years off, figuring out, job situations and stuff like that. But now, they have these awesome, websites now where you can do this virtually. And same thing goes to you, man. Like, I just love, talking about, Bears football with you, whether it's, even all the Chicago sports. I just love talking about sports, especially when it's, the Chicago sports. But, exactly. It's just, it's great to, get to chat about, our Bears team and everything like that, even the good times, the bad times as well, obviously last weekend being the bad time, but we're always here for our team, man. And we're always here to talk about, and that's just the way it is, man. But yeah, that's pretty much a wrap on this episode, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a good one. I mean, hey, I was pretty upset by the last week's game, and I was honestly dreading doing this podcast because of how bad that game was. But one thing that helps out everyone, if you ever feel upset about the way a game's going, talk to somebody. Talk to your close friends. Everyone's feeling the exact same way, whether you think you care about it more or less. Just talk to everyone. Everyone feels, everyone feels pain the same way.
Exactly.
And of the words of TJ Edwards, there's only one game that you should be upset about losing, and that's the Super Bowl. Every other game could be replaced by more wins. So that's what we're going to do here. Bears are going to get more wins, and I'm excited for it. This Bears team is still looking up. For anyone that's giving you hate on Caleb Williams, just tell them, hey, Caleb Williams is doing well. He's beating Bears records, so that's all we can hope for.
It's all we can hope for, man. Future is bright with Caleb, especially with that fourth quarter and, against Washington. And we're super excited for it. And I'm super, happy to be a Bears fan as always. But like we said, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be back every week, talking about the Bears and, hopefully get into some Bulls action once they kind of ramp up. They just started about a few weeks ago. We'll try to, get some Bulls and some other sports once they, kind of get more into it. But we thank you guys so much for tuning in. We love the listeners and the subscribers. Shoot us a comment with whatever, if you got any hot takes or anything like that. We'd love to, hear it from you. But we'll be back next week to talk about the Bears-Arizona game, preview the next game afterwards with the Patriots. And we appreciate you guys. Enjoy your night. Enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy your weekend as well. Happy Halloween. And as always, bear down.
Bear down, guys. Let's go.
Thanks, everybody. Sweet, dude. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
That was long.